Hello, everyone. I am here to talk about a 27-9 Minnesota Viking victory over the Detroit Lions. Now, this drops Detroit to 5-10. Stafford could have had a better day. He was 18 of 32 for 116 yards, 3.6 average yards per attempt. No touches, no picks. He was sacked twice and a rating of 64.1. Matt Castle, he came in at the end of the game. He was 5'11 for 45 yards, 4.1 average, no touchdowns, no interceptions, was sacked once for 13 yards and had a quarterback rating of 57.0. Now, running the ball, Zach Zenner led them in yards, 8 carries, 45 yards, 5.6 average yards per attempt, a long of 29, no touchdowns. LeGarrette Blount, 11 carries for 29 yards, 2.6 average. Matt Castle had 1 carry for 14 yards. Theo Riddick, 3 carries for -2 yards. And they had 23 carries for 86 yards and a 3.7 average. Receiving the ball, Kenny Golladay, 6 of 15 targets were caught for 58 yards. TJ Jones caught all 6 of his targets for 42 yards. Zach Zenner, 2 for 3 for 22 yards. Levine Toilolo, 1 for 1, 16 yards. Andy Jones caught 1 of 5 targets for 12 yards. Brandon Powell, 1 of 2 targets for 9 yards. Theo Riddick caught 4 of his 5 targets for 7 yards. And Jerome Cunningham didn't catch his lone target. And LeGarrette Blount caught 2 of his 4 targets for -5 yards. Now on third down, they were 4 of 16. It's a measly 25%. They were 0 of 1 in the red zone, 0 in the turnover margins, and they held the ball for 31 minutes and 28 seconds. Now, Cousins on the other end here, 21 of 28 for 253 yards, 9.0 average, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, was sacked twice and had a quarterback rating of 137.9. Dalvin Cook carried the ball 16 times for 73 yards, a 4.6 average. Latavius, 9 carries for 22 yards, 2.4 average. Thielen, 1 for 3. Cousins, 1 for 1. And Ham, also 1 for 1. So 28 carries for 100 yards even on the ground for 3.6 average yards per carry. Now, receiving the ball, Rudolph caught all 9 of his targets for 122 yards, a 13.6 average, and 2 touchdowns, which includes a Hail Mary. Thielen, 5 of 6 targets for 80 yards, 16.0 average, and a long of 40. Dalvin Cook caught all 3 of his targets for 35 yards, and his longest was 20 yards. Diggs, 2 for 6 for 10 yards, but had that 1 8-yard score. Latavius caught both of his targets for 6 yards, and Robinson didn't catch a single one of his 2 targets. They were 4 of 13 on third down, so 31%, 2 of 5 in the red zone, so 40%, 0 in the turnover margin because there were no turnovers in this game, and they held the ball for 28 minutes and 32 seconds. Whew. So we kind of hit another lull right from the start with this offense today. There was kind of one last week in kind of that middle-ish right after those 3 drives, and it just didn't wake up until at the end of the first half. And they're still struggling on third down. They only had 31% today. They were 38% last week. And I do think they need to cut down on the penalties. They had 11 today, even going back to last week. We're starting to see these. We have gains, and then what ends up happening is they come back because of a holding penalty or some block in the back. There's always something that will take back the good thing. And that's not helping the third down percentage. I know that. But on to good things. Rudolph had himself quite the day, didn't he? He had 9 catches for that 122 and the 2 scores. The Hail Mary, he had, even though right before the Hail Mary, he kind of made a boneheaded play. Then he totally redeemed himself. And I thought Cousins was efficient today for the most part. Obviously, not every throw was perfect, but I can't complain about, he only missed 7 passes and he had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I think any day you'll take that. And we do need to protect him better. I still don't think he's played a game this year where he didn't get sacked early on. It's still, the pressure is kind of, And then kind of saw it on some of those other plays on the 40-yard Thielen throw. And once again, pressure was still kind of right there. Kind of need to protect him better. And I think a lot of it has to do with Mike Remmers. He's not a good pass blocker, even as a right tackle, even though I think we can all agree he's a better right tackle than he is a right guard. But it's really not working in at guard. He has holding penalties. He can't protect quarterback. He isn't that great of a run blocker from there for whatever reason. It's just not working for whatever reason it needs to be, and that's becoming a major problem. Defensively, I thought they played really well today. There were a few outlier plays, the Zach Zenner 29-yard run and some third downs that kind of just felt like, how? But outside of those things, they were losing the field position battle early, and they only allowed 9 points. They jumped to a 9-0 lead, and they scored nothing after that. So it's good on the defense. I thought Wilson filled in nicely for Eric Kendricks. He filled in nicely for Anthony Barr. And it's good to go, I think. I think he's a very good sub linebacker to come in every once in a while, whether it's to give one of those guys a breather or when they're hurt. I think he's a guy we can kind of trust and rely upon if need be. Do I want him in the starting lineup all the time? Probably not. But I do think you can kind of, he's serviceable. He won't be a liability, but I don't think he's going to be a strength. And I think we see continued improvement from Mackenzie Alexander as well. Last year, he looked like a major bust still. And then you have this year where past 5 or 6 games, he's really come on, and it's good to see this from Mackenzie. They kept Galladay to 58 yards on 15 targets. That was the main threat. So if you told me he had 15 targets, I wouldn't think he was below 70 yards receiving. But here we are. And technically, they averaged more yards per run than they did when Stafford was attempting a pass. So they had 3.7 yards a run and only 3.6 per Stafford throw. So I just think the defense played extremely well today. I don't have any real gripes with them outside of you did let Zach Zenner get a 30-yard run on you, and there were a few third downs that didn't really make sense to me. But those things will happen from time to time. So I'm not really too upset about it. Didn't get help from Houston today. So Philly's still in it. But win and we are in. That's something I think we would all take at the beginning of the year. I think if we were thrown into this position, not every team gets to fight for that chance. So we're one of them. So it could be worse. And we do need to improve in some areas offensively, red zone, third downs mainly, I think, and penalties that bring back positive gains. But it could be due to a new offensive coordinator. Problem is, you don't have much time to adapt. You don't have much time to gel. You kind of have to do it right now. And that's where the problem kind of lies. And the other issue is, we play Chicago. They're pretty good. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting week because Chicago, it's not like they have nothing to play for. They have a first-round bye to play for. We need to fight for our playoff lives. So I'm anticipating that to be a pretty good game. Obviously, we'll have to see how injuries and stuff shake out, but I'm kind of thinking that one would be good. Anyway, I would like to know what you guys think down in the comments below, whether that's about this game or talking about next week, as I know next week there's a lot more implications about it. So I'd like to know what you guys think down below. And until next time, bid y'all adieu.